While most of the world was busy comparing battery ranges, charging speeds, and software updates, Mercedes-Benz was quietly doing something far more dangerous behind the scenes. No flashy stage reveal, no viral launch event, just a confirmation that sent a ripple through the auto industry once experts realized what it meant. The YASA Flux motor was no longer a rumor. It was real. And more importantly, it wasn't designed as a simple upgrade. This motor represents a shift in thinking that could flip the entire EV conversation on its head. Smaller, lighter, yet more powerful. That combination alone raises uncomfortable questions for everyone else. Because if this technology delivers what insiders claim, then the rules that defined electric vehicles until now may no longer apply. And that's exactly why people are starting to wonder whether Mercedes is preparing something much bigger than a single motor announcement. At first glance, the name YASA doesn't sound threatening. To most people, it seems like just another engineering company working quietly in the background. But that assumption couldn't be more wrong. YASA isn't built on market trends or consumer surveys. Its foundation comes from a university lab in the UK, where engineers weren't asking what customers wanted, but what electric motors were fundamentally doing wrong. While most manufacturers were trying to shave a little weight here or squeeze out a bit more efficiency there, YASA questioned the entire shape and structure of the motor itself. That single decision is what separates them from nearly everyone else. Instead of chasing volume or low-cost production, YASA focused on one brutal metric: power-to-weight ratio. Deliver the most power possible with the least mass. And if that meant ignoring the mainstream market for years, so be it. Traditional electric motors are shaped like long cylinders. They're heavy, space-hungry, and force engineers to design vehicles around them. YASA took a completely different path. Their solution was the axial flux motor, often described as flat and disc-like rather than long and tubular. That shape alone changes everything. A flat motor can sit closer to the wheels, lower in the chassis, or in spaces that were previously unusable. It gives designers freedom, not constraints. Less weight means better handling. Less space means better interior layouts. And when you combine those advantages, you don't just get a better motor, you get a better vehicle. This is why YASA motors first appeared in extreme performance machines, where every kilogram matters and compromise isn't tolerated. And it's also why their partnership with Mercedes raised eyebrows across the industry. Now here's where skepticism usually kicks in. Smaller usually means weaker, right? That assumption holds true for most mechanical systems, but the flux motor breaks that logic. Instead of wasting large amounts of energy as heat, the axial flux design converts more electricity directly into motion. Less loss, more output. The result is a motor that punches far above its weight. Acceleration becomes sharper, power delivery becomes smoother, and response becomes instant. This isn't just about top speed. It's about how the car feels in everyday driving. The moment you press the accelerator, the car reacts without hesitation. No lag, no buildup. Just clean, controlled movement. And that driving feel is where electric vehicles are quietly won or lost. But the real story goes even deeper, because the motor doesn't operate in isolation. It's permanently tied to the battery. Most EV discussions obsess over battery size, chemistry, and charging rates. But very few people talk about how hard the motor forces the battery to work. Inefficient motors drain batteries faster and generate excess heat, which slowly degrades battery health over time. A more efficient motor changes that equation completely. By using electricity more intelligently, the flux motor reduces stress on the battery. Less heat, less strain, longer lifespan. That translates into two things drivers actually care about: consistent range over years, and fewer worries about long-term battery replacement. This is where the flux motor stops being a performance gimmick and starts looking like a long-term ownership advantage. And this leads directly to Mercedes' real motivation. Mercedes has never been content with simply assembling parts sourced from others. In the combustion era, control came from engines and transmissions. Whoever mastered those controlled performance, refinement, and identity. In the EV era, that control shifts to motors and software. Relying entirely on external suppliers creates vulnerability. Prices change. Supply chains break. Innovation slows. Mercedes knows this. That's why the move toward YASA isn't just about improving the next electric sedan. It's about securing independence for the next decade. Owning core motor technology means Mercedes decides how its cars drive, how they evolve, and how they differentiate themselves when the EV market becomes overcrowded. This is exactly why competitors are paying attention. Tesla built its reputation on drivetrain efficiency, software integration, and performance. BYD, on the other hand, dominates through battery manufacturing, cost control, and scale. Until now, the EV race has been fought on range numbers, charging times, and pricing wars. The Flux motor threatens to shift the battlefield entirely. If a manufacturer can extract more performance and efficiency from the same battery size, then simply adding larger batteries becomes less impressive. If driving feel improves while complexity drops, then brand perception starts to change. This doesn't mean Tesla or BYD are suddenly in trouble, but it does mean their advantages are no longer untouchable. So where does Mercedes deploy this technology first? Based on how the company has always operated, it won't start with mass-market models. New technology is introduced where customers expect innovation and are willing to pay for it. That points directly to AMG. Performance-focused electric AMG models are the perfect testing ground. Lightweight motors, instant torque, and aggressive acceleration align perfectly with that philosophy. From there, the technology would likely move into high-end EQ, sedans, and SUVs, where refinement, silence, and smoothness matter just as much as raw speed. Only after years of validation would this technology trickle down into more affordable models. This isn't speculation pulled out of thin air. It's how Mercedes has always introduced game-changing technology. Naturally, this raises the biggest question of all. Will this ever benefit the average buyer, or will it remain locked behind luxury price tags? History suggests the answer leans toward reality, not fantasy. Airbags, ABS, automatic transmissions, and advanced driver aids all started in premium cars. Over time, costs dropped, production scaled, and the same technologies became standard. The Flux motor is likely on a similar path. Expensive today, more accessible tomorrow. And when it does reach mainstream vehicles, it won't just mean faster cars. It will mean lighter designs, better efficiency, longer battery life, and EVs that feel less like appliances and more like machines designed to be driven. What makes this moment important isn't a single motor or a single brand. It's the shift in priorities it represents. For years, electric vehicles were judged by numbers on a spec sheet: range, charging speed, battery size. But the next phase looks different. Motors, software integration, and driving experience are moving to the center of the conversation. Mercedes didn't announce this shift loudly. It didn't need to. The move was made quietly, strategically, and with long-term consequences in mind. And that's why the YASA Flux motor isn't the end of the story. It's the signal that the EV race just entered a new phase. And here's the part most people are still missing. This shift isn't just about who builds the fastest or most efficient electric car right now. It's about who controls the direction of the industry 5, 10, even 15 years from now. Once a company locks in its own motor architecture, everything else begins to align around it. Vehicle platforms become more flexible. Software can be tuned more precisely. Cooling systems, drivetrains, and even suspension layouts can be optimized around a lighter, more compact core. That kind of control compounds over time. Small advantages stack up. And before anyone notices, one manufacturer is no longer reacting to the market. It's setting the pace. This is why the timing of this reveal matters. The EV market is entering a phase where growth is slowing, competition is tightening, and differentiation is becoming harder. Range numbers are starting to look similar. Charging speeds are converging. Screens are getting bigger, but that novelty fades fast. What doesn't fade is how a car feels every single day. How smoothly it accelerates in traffic. How stable it feels at speed. How quiet and composed it remains after years of use. That's where motor technology quietly decides winners and losers. And that's exactly the layer Mercedes is now investing in. There's also another angle that hasn't been fully discussed, yet: regulations. As governments push stricter efficiency and sustainability requirements, manufacturers will be forced to do more with less. Smaller batteries, lower material usage, higher efficiency. A motor that can deliver strong performance while reducing energy waste becomes a strategic weapon under those conditions. It allows manufacturers to meet regulations without sacrificing the driving experience. And in some cases, without increasing costs as dramatically as battery-heavy solutions would. That's not speculation. That's where policy and engineering inevitably collide. And don't be surprised if this sparks a quiet domino effect across the industry. When one